Alright, so let's take a look at my bike. It's the Triumph Street Triple R. You'll notice that it's in matte orange, which I think is quite nice. You only get the matte paint finishes on the R versions. You'll notice that it's an older model. It's actually a 2009. I bought it for personal preference. I don't like the new headlight designs. I believe they call them the Dame Edna look. It looks a bit like Wall-E, and I prefer this this twin round headlight design. Much better looking in my opinion. One thing I am undecided on is this visor that I bought the bike with. You'll notice there's an orange speedometer cowl underneath that, and that's the normal look, and then this is drilled in on top. I'm thinking about removing it. It is useful if you're out on the motorway, although having said that, I don't spend a lot of time out on the motorway. And I just think it'll look a little bit better with that flash of orange on the front. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a personal preference. Right, things that I've done to the bike. You would have noticed already, crash protection, right? I think that's a must for any bike. Yeah, it's only a matter of time before somebody drops a bike. We've all done it. I've done it, and I'm sure I'll do it again. The radiator cover, both of these products from Evotech Performance, fit on really nicely. Really sturdily made, or at least they feel that way. Good reviews, nice company to deal with, very helpful. I've got some bar end weights coming from Evotech as well, which I'll be sticking on there, as well as some aftermarket levers. I don't like those. Very sort of, I don't know, just don't like the look of them really. And the aftermarket ones are much easier to use. They've got bits that fold up. Another thing I replaced, cheap eBay part, bit of carbon fibre, is these heel plates here. The standard chrome look ones really got scratched up and started to look quite awful, if I'm honest. These ones are resisting the scratching much more, and just look a bit better on the bike really. Next modification coming is the exhaust. You'll notice I've got the standard exhaust on there. The Triumph Street Triple R has got a really lovely engine note. Beautiful induction sound. Very iconic with that whistle in the background. But the exhausts are just, you just can't hear anything really. So a set of Scorpion exhausts coming. Can't decide on the stainless steel or carbon fibre effect, but definitely the exhaust coming from Scorpion. What's it like to run? It's an absolute pleasure to ride. I've let a couple of friends of mine and my brother have a go on it, and the reaction's always the same. They get off smiling from ear to ear. And I have to agree with them. It's a fantastic bike to drive. Really inspires confidence. It's light. I think it's in the region of 169 on kilos dry. Really flickable. As I say, inspires that confidence. Great first big bike. It is my first big bike, obviously. It can get you into a bit of trouble, so you want to be careful. It's no slouch. I think it's pushing out about 105 brake horsepower standard, which is, that's quite a bit. But the way it delivers the power, I think, is what it's where the benefit comes in, where really it sort of comes into its own, because it just delivers it in such a beautiful, smooth way. Really easy to drive. Fuel consumption, rubbish. I think I'm lucky the way I drive it. If I get about 40-45 miles to the gallon. On a motorway I might get a bit more, about 50, but really I've seen it as low as 38, to be honest with you, when you're really thrashing it. But that's not why I bought it, so I've got no real immediate complaints there. Yeah, so that's the bike. Alright, that's enough talk from me. Let's get back on and carry on riding. I'm sure there are others of you out there that have experienced this as well, but when you've been winging along on on the country back lanes, when you come back down to the speed limit of 30 miles an hour, it feels like you're walking. I'm not suggesting we should be speeding through these villages. It's you know, safety first and all that. So one of the other things that could perhaps be seen as a negative to the entire biking world, I think there's this common misconception that motorcycling is a cheap hobby or a cheap way of getting around. Not so. Not so at all. People don't drive bikes because they can't afford cars. They ride bikes because they want to ride a bike. Because I'll be the first to tell you that it's not that it costs a fortune to run. And the performance and pleasure that you get back out of it for the amount that you're putting in, I mean, to put it into perspective, this bike will get up to 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds, you know. To get that kind of performance, you're spending upwards of, you know, you're spending hundreds of thousands of pounds, potentially, on supercars to get that kind of performance. And this second-hand cost me just over 5,000. So, you know, that from that point of view, yes, yeah, it's cheap thrills, as I say. But from the point of view of the maintenance, a lot of work goes into it. Not just the cost. You know, you've got to lubricate the chain every 300 miles on this bike. You don't have to, but if you don't, you're going to have to replace the chain pretty quickly. Oh, wait for it. Thank you. Cleaning. Very important. I know there's lots of people out there that probably don't clean their cars very often, especially through winter, get all the muck on it. And then the actual cleaning aspect, you know, you can get away with just cleaning the bodywork, give it a good polish, and the car looks alright. But with a bike, everything's on display. The bodywork, particularly on a naked bike, I know on sports bikes that might not be the case, but on a naked bike like this, the engine is essentially the bodywork. And there's lots of little nooks and crannies and things that you need to sort of clean out. You don't want salt getting up in there and corroding it and making it look rubbish. I mean, next time you get a chance, if you are a car driver, open up the bonnet of the car and you tell me how clean and lovely that engine looks. I'm going to bet that it doesn't. It's probably grimy, it's got grease everywhere, it's probably corroding to a certain degree, but that hides under your bonnet. So it's less of an issue from that point of view, whereas on a bike, you don't want your bike to look all corroded and crap. Little mini biker there. And if you're anything like me, you want to be riding a clean bike. I wouldn't say I'm OCD about it, but I do like a clean bike. Should we jump the queue? Yeah, why not? Thank you very much. So yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into bike ownership. I'm not going to candy coat that for you. But I will say this, I think the majority of people that are riding bikes are doing it for the love of riding and for the love of the mechanics and the joy of the entire thing. So I don't think that's going to bother many people trying to get into biking. But if that's the kind of thing that does bother you, don't get into biking thinking that it's the cheap and easy way to get around. It's not. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot of drive, and yeah, if you're not willing to put the work in, I don't think you'll get the same satisfaction out. But that's just my opinion. Everybody loves a caravan. Note my sarcasm. How great would it be if you could have a drone that flies over your head and can see ahead of you on these blind intersections, and you can see what's coming and what's not, and then you know you can overtake on a blind corner. I doubt very much we'll be able to get legal approval for that on the road. But that would be cool. Another steep one. We lean in, look through. So something interesting that I've learned along the way as part of my training, as part of my experience as a new biker, is that the way you turn a bike is essentially with your eyes. You steer with your eyes. Where you look is where you'll go. You'll hear bikers often refer to things like target fixation. And that's essentially where you get fixated on a target. So for example, that van in front, if I fixate on it, I'm gonna go into the back of it basically, if it came to a sudden stop. Instead, if I'd looked for the gap to the left or the right and I'd focused on that, the bike will go there. It's the most bizarre thing. You've always got to be looking ahead, looking through the corner. But it's a lovely feeling once you kind of get used to that aspect of it. It's all part of that whole thing I was talking about, where you feel like you're part of the bike. I don't think you can say the same thing for a car. You definitely can't say the same thing for a car. And then there's the whole counter steering and shifting your weight around, getting your head wrapped around that. Turn left to go right. Funny, huh? But true. Absolutely true. If I drive down this road here now and I take, well, I'm not going to do it now, it's very unsafe, but if I take my hands off the steering wheel, the bike will continue in a straight line. If I push on the right hand side handlebar, the bike will turn to the right. If I push on the left, it'll turn to the left. You see it happening there. I won't get into the boring details of why that happens, but essentially it's the centrifugal force of the wheels keeping the bike upright. When you turn it over, it wants to fall over in the opposite direction. There are plenty of YouTube videos around explaining the dynamic of this, and all very interesting. All worth a watch, especially if you're getting into biking for the first time. Because once you can wrap your head around that, it does make control of the vehicle a lot easier. That's the way a Sky should look. Blue with white fluffy bits in it. No, not like that. That's grey fluffy bits. Don't want grey fluffy bits. I want the blue with the white fluffy bits. Very nice. So we're on the backwards leg now, heading back home. Hopefully I've got some good footage and you've been able to hear all the things that I've been saying, not just a load of wind blasts or the engine of the bike. And with any luck, this will be my first official vlog. It's the road back into Bath. I hope you've enjoyed the ride. I hope you've been able to hear everything I've been saying and see. And if you have been able to hear everything I'm saying, I hope you found it mildly interesting. As I said, I'll share more and more of my experiences, more of my rides, more of the bike, more of the modifications, and possibly even some of my car, which is another project which I've got on the go, a little track day project. So hopefully share some of that with you, share some of the upgrades that we add on there, and some of the track days. Get the camera out. But as I say, if this information is useful to any new bikers, great. If it's not, that's okay. There's nobody forcing you to stay here. You may switch the computer off. Anyway, that's it from me, folks. Until next time, this has been the Bath Biker. Ride safe and look after yourselves.
You know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that whole mile.